here. By the way, we forgot this shout out. Who's doing those noises, bro? You guys are so good at making weird noises.
You're welcome. He's the only one that bro, hey man.
It's all turn.
Hey, how much is 5 out of 7 in percentage? 5 out of 7. Somebody divide it. 5 divided by 7.
69. Like 60.
Bro, do the math on your phone.
70%? Hey, real quick, let's give a quick shout out for the first time above 70% retention on first round interviews for your boy Tracy over.
Oh!
Last week you noticed probably. No, great job for Tracy. He got 5 people that he liked, to agree on some stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. It's the first time you do first round interviews. Anybody's done first round interviews? You nerve-wracking? Tommy, you remember Tommy? Have you seen Tommy's first round interview? The first time he did it, it was like we used to speak to people. Who's been interviewed by Claire here? Most of you guys. So before Claire started, just so you guys know, before Claire, I used to do the interviews before Claire was doing them, and it used to be like a 1-hour interview. It was very long, and then we let Tommy do it for the first time. It took him like 6 minutes. Can you does that tell you something already? It was like a little bit of I think he skipped, I would say maybe a couple things, but it was just all like, yeah. So.
You need the job?
Yeah. It was so funny. Tommy's like, I got it. I was a manager before, so it's just the same thing. It kind of is the same thing, but not always. So, I wanted to do a little bit of my story because I've been hearing Tracy's interview, and he says some really weird things about me. He was telling, yesterday he was doing an interview, and he was like, what'd you say? He's like, Richard just doesn't understand corporate America, so that's why he just created a training process. I'm like, Claire said, no, I heard Claire's interview, but Claire uses different language. Or I think Claire told me, dude, I think I said that once, and Tracy loved it, right? And then Tracy's just like,
corporate America. He's from
I'm like wondering how you guys are gonna do your interview when you're not here. Is the point. But and the part of that is I'm not offended. It's actually true. The only corporate job I've had would be Whataburger, and I was on the Department of French fries. And it was at the same time as I had this job. But in the interview, I used to share my story a lot so that way people would get to know me, and now I don't. So I'm just gonna tell you guys a little bit more so you guys can understand a little bit where I come from and all that stuff. I'm 28 years old, from Spain. Anybody not know where Spain's at? It's normal. Spain is half the size of Texas, so that makes sense. Spain is across the Atlantic Ocean. It's about 4,000 miles from here. It's the only country that is not in like the American side, South America, that speaks Spanish. It's funny. And I lived there all my life until I was 22, 23 years old. My dad was born in Georgia, in a small little town called Douglasville, with all the white people. And my grandfather, so his dad was called Newburn, and that's why the name of the company. Also sounds pretty white, right?
Yeah.
Never met the guy. But I know he used to be an Air Force veteran for the Vietnam War, and really proud of him for serving the country and stuff like that. Never got to meet him. He died because I think the American soldiers tossed a lot of gas after the war was done. That was very toxic. Does that ring a bell to anybody that maybe studied history here? Is that kind of true? Yeah. Plus, I think he also did smoke about 3 packs a day, and that helped with a little bit of lung cancer, and that was his story. But so he died in 1987. I was born. Anybody in 1993 here? Born in 1993. Let's go! We got some people. Some people are my age. I'm not the old one here. That's cool. Yeah, I got Tommy above me, and then not many more people. We got Brad from anybody 1992 or 1? 1991.
Hey, what?
Oh, 3.
1990. 89. Anybody from the 80s, raise your hand.
Let's go.
Let's go from the 80s. Yeah. So anyway, I'll tell you like a quick recap. So I was in Spain all of my life. I was a pretty normal kid. I grew up, I was pretty decent in school. Like I never like had to study throughout the summer and stuff like that. High school is a little bit different there. The words they use, it's not high school, it's something else, right? But same system where they take you to school every day. We're off at 5 p.m. from school in Spain. You guys, man. Yeah, we're off at 5 p.m. From school. Sometimes it was like Fridays they would do 5:30, which would be a little negative for us.
What time did you start?
Many at 8. 8 or 9. Spain, you gotta understand, Spain has a siesta time, right? So in Spain, like our lunch hour was 2.5 hours, right? Like I would go home and have time to eat lunch, lay on the couch, sleep for an hour, and go back. It would kill me sometimes. You know, you would see lots of people would get sick on that last part of the day. It was a coincidence, I think, or a virus. Anyway, my story is I went through school. My parents said you have to be successful in life. You need a career. You need a degree. Anybody heard that from their parents? Like you need a degree so you can be successful. Anybody still believe it? And again, I don't blame my parents. They didn't really. That's what they knew, right? So I went out and got a degree. I remember I didn't really choose it. I was like looking at the names of the degrees. Anybody chose their degree because the name sounded cool? That was me. I was like, business administration. And I thought to myself, I want to administrate some businesses. That's something I would do. So I went on my first year on that, took economy classes, all these things that I actually never went through in high school. Like in high school, I picked all of the tough ones because my mom always said, if you pick the tough ones, the science, then you'll be able to also do the easy ones, so it'll give you more options. Anybody did something like that? Okay, cool. So I did like biology, chemistry, physics. Like I was studying like Einstein stuff in like my last year of high school before. It was hard. Like it was difficult. And then I went to an economy degree. It had nothing to do. It was also like online, where online was not a thing in 2015. So I wasted that year. Like I had to leave. And then I signed up again for college now I actually looked what subjects I would study each day, which we recommend. If you're gonna go study something, don't just choose for the name. And I went to I chose the easiest one. It was an advertising degree. 4 years. Some of the classes were like about laws and stuff like that. Anyway, I went through college, had great friends, and in college when I started getting a little bit more in trouble. Anybody had some bad influences in their life, or maybe anybody you were the bad influence. Oh my God! Put your hands down. Yes, sir. Put your hands down. So I had like a period in my life where I kind of changed to being like this just whatever normal kid. When I was 15 years old, I was detected cancer. So I went through cancer when I was 15. I remember I was eating lunch with my mom in one of those 2.5 hour breaks. She would like drive 30 minutes from work, come to eat lunch, go drive back. It's what you do in Spain. And I remember she was like eating with me, and you know how any moms here that you just sense that your kid has something going on? Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, "What's that you have on your neck, Richard?" And I don't know, I was just eating and just minding my business, right? I was 15 years old, so I was obviously thinking about a lot of important things. And I remember telling my mom like I was like annoyed by my mom like touching my neck and stuff. Like, "Mom, leave me alone, it's not gonna be cancer." So just the callings you go through. And yeah, 2.5 months later, I got detected cancer. It was cancer. So just be careful with what you say and what you put out in the world, because it could manifest. I have a scar here. I don't know if it's visible yet anymore, because I obviously don't see it. But I had like a big old thing in there. They did a autopsy or biopsy. Yeah, autopsy is when you're dead. Yeah. And it was cancer. And I don't know about you guys, how you guys felt when you were 15, but like my biggest fear as I had cancer was to lose my hair, and like it would affect my image. Like my biggest worry was like the girl I liked would like see me like lose my hair, and like I liked her. I don't know if she liked me. So imagine if I didn't know, plus I didn't have hair. It was like a big deal for me. Went through cancer. I remember being really upset with my family, very immature choice, because my family, my cousins, my friends, they all knew I had cancer before me. And I remember being super upset with my mom, so unfair. And I remember I was mad at her for like a week, because I was like, you told all my friends and my family before me that I have cancer? Like, whose cancer is it? I remember being so mad, not understanding, now 15 years later, or 13 years later, that my mom probably didn't know how to tell me. She was probably way more affected than I was, And the fact she told my friends, it's because she was probably just, crying inside, and she didn't know how to tell me. And I remember the first day I lost my hair, I was worried. I was scratching my head. Anybody had a family member or somebody with cancer, and you see them lose their hair, and it's like that moment where you see it, where it's visual and it becomes true. Up until then, I was fine. I was like, well, they wouldn't let me go to school. That's awesome when you're 15. But then after 2 months of not going to school, you kind of miss it, And that really taught me a lot about life, and I'm kind of thankful today that I went through cancer, because my doctor, who was my uncle, told me I would go through 6 months to a year worth of chemo, and it was only 2 months. After 2 months, I was done. I had no other side effects other than the hair. Like, they told me some really violent side effects you can have through chemotherapy, like all the food you eat could taste like metal. You could lose a lot of weight. I'm like, I can't lose any more weight. I was very skinny. I'm still very skinny. It was kind of the opposite for me. Like, I actually got fat. Like, I got a belly. It was funny. I couldn't see my feet in the shower, how big my belly got. I was eating so much. But it was like a funny fat, right? Because I got fat like that way. So it was just like, a pregnancy. Yeah. But I did lose my hair, and I'll never forget the moment that I lost my hair, and that's the first time I was like, oh my God, and I felt like so sad for myself and so sorry for myself. And I had you shave your head, and then you see the spots, and then you have to like shave with a razor. And I remember that moment, my mom saw me suffer, because up until then it was just like, yeah, let's go to the hospital, get chemo, go back, play Nintendo. My mom works for Nintendo. And it was kind of okay, it was like, yeah, let's go to the hospital, it was fine. But then that's when I lost my attitude. And my cousin that was there, he was the same age, he decided to shave his head with me. And which, makes a big difference. I'll be forever thankful. But just what I'm trying to tell you, what this story taught me, is just to be grateful, because I could have lost my life, and I was 15 years old. And I remember seeing my mom lose her attitude, and that's when I feel like I grew up in that moment. And I remember I was like, Richard, if you were happy, she would be happy. And I remember thinking how much I can control by me being happy. So since that day, I lost my hair, and my mission was to make my mom laugh every day. So I realized it was kind of like I was trying to prove to myself that I could have a good attitude and contage it to my mom. And I was not sure, so I would try, and it was true. Anybody know Mr. Clean? He looks like he has cancer, right? And I remember getting a bottle of Mr. Clean and going up to my mom in the morning, like, look, Mom, it's me. And my mom she's sad, because can you imagine having a son that's going through cancer? And my mom would laugh. And I remember she was like, stop being so dumb. I'm like, no, come on, take a picture of me in the bottle. And we looked pretty similar. The guy in the bottle just was not as fit as I was. And I remember being able to put that smile into my mom, and it was just really, really inspiring to see that I could do that for my mom. Well, I thought it was opposite. I thought my mom would be the one in control. So, fast forward, I went through college. That doesn't mean I grew up, but it doesn't mean I made good decisions. I made some pretty bad ones. I got really greedy with I wanted just to make money. I got a girlfriend that was in the rich side of town, where I live. It's right next to the airport. It was just people get coins together to buy cigarettes, right, where I live, and they find stuff under their car and stuff like that. And I got a girlfriend in this other side of town that was her parents were rich, so I needed to take her. She wanted to just go out to dinner on a Tuesday to a restaurant, and this is out of my budget for the next year and a half. $40 on a dinner on a Tuesday. I'm like, ugh. And I had to step up for that. So I started figuring out, by myself, because my parents couldn't give me money. Made some bad choices, and then after getting through a couple of big scares, I decided, I'm like, you know what? I have a U.S. passport. I'm gonna go to the U.S. I'm gonna fly to America, because it would be pretty dumb not to go to America. If you guys know, in Spain, like, we have it pretty good here. Like, you have a bad month here and you'll still make $1,000 or $2,000 on a bad month, working probably 30 hours a week. You can make over $1,000. Actually, it's considered poverty if you make less than $1,000 a month in America, $12,000 a year. And that's like a pretty good salary for somebody in their 20s to 30s in Spain. If you make 1,000 euros per month, you're like rocking it. Now, if you make 1,300, you're like the guy that reserves like the spot in the club, and like you get like the space for you. And if you make 1,500, you're rich, right, at that point, per month. So I remember doing the math. I'm like, I don't like this math. I want to make more money, and that's why I decided to come to the U.S. I got here. I had $200 of money saved, and I had 2 suitcases just full of clothes, full of jackets. I realized I was not going to use those. In San Antonio, Texas, my dad had a friend that was just retired from the military that let me stay in his house, and he told me, his name was Mike. He just retired from the military. He was going through his 5th marriage. Really experienced guy in relationships. Love him to death still. He told me, Richard, hey, you got 3 months to stay here. You can use my car, my utilities, my house. We'll give you food. You got 90 days. In 90 days, you got to get on your feet. So I remember landing from the airport from Spain. The next day I went to the DMV, got my driver's license taken care of. And then the next day I was doing 5 or 6 interviews, and one of these interviews was with Chang. I did my interview with Chang, who is my upline, my promoting manager, and she interviewed me. She told me, hey, we like you. She didn't really hide anything. She's like, we like you. We'd love for you to start. I came in the next day. Instead of coming to the office, there was like a breakfast. It's like if somebody would start this Thursday and they have to come their first day to go-karting. Like, it's weird. It's not this normal. And they took me to a breakfast. There was a national consultant there. I didn't understand anything. Everybody was eating food. I didn't want to eat. You ever felt like you're in a restaurant and you don't want to eat just because you feel it's rude, but then everybody's eating? I was like, well, I'm from a new country. I was 10 days in from Spain. Had no money. I was borrowing and I had 90 days to get out. So I got the job. I loved the job so much. I was a little confused with the yelling. Anybody got a little confused today with like people screaming in your ear? Like, why are they so excited? Like, he only like taught a system. Isn't that their job? Yeah, I remember I was like this one guy, Michael, that I was like, I almost like go off on him. I'm like, bro, next time you scream in my ear, we're gonna have a problem. Like, you don't know where I come from. You know, Spain is like, yeah, I mean, you got some tough spots. And I remember I went through, I didn't tell him anything, and I actually was a really good friend of mine. And I went through the business. I went through the first 2 months, and I didn't make much money. Like, the average paycheck was $800 bi-weekly at the time. It was either $8 an hour or commissions. But I did love the people. Anybody work here because they love the people? So you see majority of the hands up, and I loved the people. I was like, I've never been in a job where like people are just so freaking awesome. I don't care what the job is. I just want these people in my life. And that's why I stayed. Like, there were some days that were good, some days that were bad, but I remember I had enough jobs in Spain to understand that's any job. You have enough good days and bad days. Some days are going to be frustrating, some days are not. It's just the job. If you were not in a job, you wouldn't have to go through it. And I got a job at Whataburger because I realized that I had to pay 26% for my car, 26% interest because I had no credit. So they charged me an extra $3,000 on a $5,000 car. I was like, well, whatever, I just need a car, right? I didn't have any money. No down payments. You know those car lots? No down payments. Come on in now. Drive out today. That was the only way they would take me because I had no credit. My social security number was new. And my car payment was $450 a month. So I saved $2,000 on my first 2 months, and I gave it to down payment, and then I had an $8,000 left to pay. I paid it off in 9 months, or $5,000 left to pay. Anyway, I had a job at Whataburger, and that's why I did from 9 p.m. to 1 in the morning. Every day, I would do that maybe 3 or 4 days a week, 9 p.m. to 1 in the morning at Whataburger after I would get off of this job, an entry level. And that's it. I got promoted to leadership in 4 weeks, and what I learned, I'm gonna write one thing down too. What I learned as me getting to level 1 of leadership is networking up. And that was my biggest takeaway. Like, I went through the field but I didn't understand what I had to do. And I remember asking my mentor, David, I'm like, hey, what do I have to do to get promoted? He's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, well, I don't know. I did the sales, I did all that stuff. He's like, well, have you talked to any of the leaders? I'm like, no. Well, I mean, yeah, somehow. But he's like, well, if you're going to get promoted to a leadership role, should you know the leaders that are already there? Does that make sense? And I was like, well, yeah, that does make sense. So I remember for 2 nights back to back after the field, I called, we didn't do one-on-ones at the time, so I called every leader in the office. Like, I got all the numbers, and I called the Cassandra of that office. I called the Tracy, I called the Magali, I called the Salome, I called the Brad. I called those guys. And I remember asking all of them, hey, what do you think I need to do? What do you think I need to do? I asked the same question. What do you think I need to do to get promoted? And all of them told me the same thing, so it was like a really empty phone calls. But there was this one guy, Mr. Barry, that was like my white rabbit through the training, that Mr. Barry was the first one to say like a cuss word to me. He's like, bro, can I be for real with you? He had 4 kids. He was a retired police officer. He was in his mid-40s. He's like, bro, fuck this. He just told me that on the phone. I'm like, oh, can I say bro? He said, you can say whatever you want, man. I'm just gonna be real with you. And he told me what I had to do. Anybody appreciate people straightforward to you? Mm-hmm. Like people just tell you, hey, you know, let's like pause the politics for a second and just let me tell you straight up what you got to do because you're being a little that. I see some head nods. That's good. And I remember I was like, dude, those 5 phone calls, like networking, right? Network up. So if you're new, talk to Madison. Don't talk to the person that started with you. Talk to Magali. Talk to somebody that's in a higher level. And you might not click with them immediately, but if you do it enough, essentially you'll get your Barry. I got Mr. Barry for me. And I remember he told me, he's like, Richard, you got a big mouth, man. You can't shut up. And your problem is, and it still kind of is, but it was way worse at the time, your problem is that you speak before you think. And then I would say stuff in the middle of the office that was like challenging for Chang. Because I was like, Chen, that doesn't make sense. Can you repeat that? Like in the middle of the meeting. And like I was almost trying to discredit her. And it was not in a bad intention, that was just me. And Barry was my guy that told me, dude, I realize you do that, but not on a bad way. So every time you speak, look at me. I'm gonna wink an eye on you. And if you did something wrong, if not, I just won't do anything. So that way we can talk about it later. So every time I would make a comment, he just let me be myself. Anybody appreciate that? Like when you can just be you. And I was just so happy to be there from Spain and trying to adapt to the culture. They took me to Midland, Texas for a little office trip, like a road trip. And I remember I was gonna say hello to the lady in the hotel. Because in Spain you say hello, you kiss. Really? They almost put me in prison. Because the lady was so thrown off. And I forgot that in the US you just shake hands. People are kind of cold. And in Spain you just kiss people. That's what you do. This lady from Midland didn't have it in her anyway. And Barry was the one that would wink an eye on me like, hey, that's too much, Richard. And he got me to leadership. He got me, it was him. He shaped me. And then from there it was 17 months. From there until I got to assistant manager. There was no level 2, level 3, mastermind. There was none of that. It was just build 5 leaders and just figure it out. And I remember my next step that I had to do, the biggest thing, it was building my own confidence. For 17 months, I had to go from the brand new leader that is just here from Spain, that always uses the same blazer, that has not much going on, to be the guy that was running the office and operating Chang's company. 17 months, now you might think that's a lot. I thought it was not. I think, at the time it did feel like a lot, but then I realized what I was doing is like, I was replacing the owner of the company. Like it's not a small thing to run Dana's company that's been operating for 10 years in Houston. You know, did you know that 90% of companies fail before 10 years? Like 90% of businesses go out of business. Only 10% survive after 10 years. Dana, I think, is her 9th year. And not only she survived, she makes a lot of money. Like she made $5,000 yesterday, right? That's Monday, right? So I remember what I was doing, and Chang would explain it to me like, hey, you're training for a position that like, hey, you just came from Spain, like 17 months is not enough. Because I would beat myself up because I thought the training was supposed to be shorter. Anybody put pressure on themselves to grow faster because you think you should be away? This is what the problem you have there is, the problem I had is it's called self-image. And you're worried about what other people think of you. And you're worried about what other people will say of you. And I can't wait for some of you guys to go to the owners conference when you notice that not one person not one owner asks another, how long did it take you? Unless that's like the topic. That nobody judges people like that because it doesn't matter. You got the degree, you got the degree. When you see a person that's like fit, you know, from the gym, do you ask them, hey, how long do you go to gym to get the, no. Well, you just look at them, you're like, man, wow, that's cool. It doesn't matter what you do to get there or how long. What matters is, do you get there? Would you agree?
Yeah.
And I was so worried, like, man, Chang, I've been here for a year and 2 months now. I don't know, like, is this for me? And she's like, there's people that go play football for 10 years, make no money, and they don't make it to the NFL. Like, you've only been doing this for 1 year. Like, it takes you less time in kindergarten. So, like, if you're here, like, rushing yourself to the next position, cool, good for you. I appreciate the urgency. But you gotta learn patience, and you gotta learn to, like, really not care what other people think of you. Because they really actually don't care. Like, they might judge you or whatever, but they really don't care. What matters is the skill set. What matters is you get promoted. Like, Danny took him a short time. Took him 5-6 months to get there. But like Danny, when I was telling Danny to buy a book, like, I'm like, Danny, you should read this book. He would reply on a text message to me with the tracking number. Like, this is an insane, obsessed person. Like, Danny, you should wear a suit. The next day, he's wearing a suit. Like, there's some people that are just quick, right? It was not me. Not me. I was like, okay, let me digest this feedback for a solid week. Think about it again. It's most of us. You have Danny. Well, that's why Danny made 40 grand his first month. But it's, again, there's some special people, right? But I remember learning how to build my own confidence. I remember asking questions like, how am I supposed to interview somebody that's older than me? They have more experience. Anybody felt like that on an interview? Not you, Avan? Dang it. Really? Avan's good. Avan's here 18, you know, and she hires 3 people 25 years old, and everybody's like, you're 18? Like they made a mistake or something. It's like, huh? And like, yeah, she's 18. Her age has nothing to do with like how much she can outwork a person that's 10 years older than her. Because it's all about effort, you know? People respect effort, not status or credibility and stuff like that. So, remember building my own confidence for 17 months. I got promoted to assistant manager. To assistant manager, for some reason, for a couple days, I thought I made it. Like, I was like, cool, I made it. Got it. This is the promotion. I'm there. Had my 5 liters and a half, locked in the cruise control. Chang had me do interviews. I was doing interviews from 10 to 2 and going to the field from 2 to 8 every day. And but I thought I had it, you know, and guess what happened to my 5 liters? They all gone because they were just not locked into me. Or some of them were, but they saw me got promoted. They're like, cool, Richard, we got you there. So, bye. And I never thought of like, hey, I gotta be an assistant manager, and it's my time to do more and build another 5 and build another system. Because guess what you're gonna do as an owner? Guess what's gonna happen to your office if you have the best office in the world and a world pandemic happens? You're gonna have to do it all over again, which is why like actual skill set of building great people is the key, right? So when I got to assistant manager, the last thing I learned, and I'll leave you guys with this, is that was day 1. I thought that was the day I was supposed to get it done. To just realize I got to assistant manager, I signed my paperwork. That was my first day at the job, actually. Chang came up to me, and I just didn't know how tough the job was until that day. Like, Chang came up to me, and she's like, okay, so I've been kind of like, you know, keeping you in like in a cotton ball, and like we've been like, just like, what do boxers do before they warming up?
Sparring.
That. So now we're gonna go bare knuckles, and we're now gonna go like, now I'm gonna go straight at you. I'm gonna try to actually bring you down. And if you can survive that, you're gonna be a great business owner. And I was like, what do you mean? This was all just like, I'm like, it's been hard. She's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's your perspective, that it's been hard. For me, I'm just training you, right? And I was like, wow. Lost my crap. I remember going to the field, sucked as an assistant manager. We don't recommend that. I sucked. What do you think happens? Everybody looks at the assistant manager like that's the next best position. So what do you think happens if you like start sucking and losing your attitude? People like it's magnified, right? It's more visible. If you're here and you're on your second or third week and you suck, but if Alante does 0, people would know that, right? It's a little bit more pressure for him, and I couldn't handle the pressure. I broke. I lost all my people, and guess what? The cool thing about the business is this business has a very short memory, and I learned that, and I was like, cool. But next week is a new week, and I built an incredible team. After that, it was 3 months for me as an assistant manager, or 2 months. I built an incredible team that actually came with me to Dallas, and we opened this office, and we crushed 2019. But I was so glad I went through that learning curve, because it's not the same just being in the field and managing your 3 or 4 or 5 guys than running the whole company and managing your 10 or 20 guys. It's very, very different. And that's why we encourage you to do the hard stuff. We encourage you to figure out how to be like yesterday, like have fun with the negatives, and we encourage you to do that. And since then, I got to tell you, the business has made me, been in the business now for 5 years, as an owner for 4 or for 3.5. And it's been the best time of my life. I became definitely a better person. I'm definitely a better spouse to Monica, way better. I'm definitely way more respectful to my parents. I understand them a lot more. I am way more respectful. I'm a good example to my little sister. Anybody got little siblings that you want to be an example for? I am a way better example, because when I was in Spain, I was the guy that would put deodorant in the room with the window open in the winter because I was doing other things in my room. And I was not a good example, you know? Now, now I get to do things for my sister. Like it took me 1.5 years, and I'll leave you guys with some goals. It took my first goal as an owner. I was like, wow, I can actually make some great money. If you do the math, if you're like confused, like, how do I get paid here? Listen, figure out a way to talk to your upline, because you know, you might think, well, this works, this doesn't work. One thing that's very true about this business is that we make a lot of money. Is there people that don't? Is there people that don't maybe work as hard? Absolutely, like in any job. But here, one thing that's true is that we make a lot of money. That is true. It's not a bragging point. It's just, it's way more money than people. Some owners make way more money than they deserve, and I think that's okay. Because probably for some years they made less than they deserve. And I think for you guys now, if you're making less money than you deserve, and all the hours that you're not getting paid for now, what's that quote that I saw? It's like, if you don't do more than you're expected to, then you're not gonna get paid more later for what you deserve, or something like that. And it just kind of reminded me, like, you just gotta go the extra mile. You gotta do those things. I had a goal to pay my sister's college on my first year, and I didn't do it on my first year, but I did it on my second. And it was fun. Like, I had to go to the bank and just do the math on how much it cost for 4 years of college. And like, just imagine, it was enough money. I never had this experience. It was enough money that the bank offered to had a person follow me so I was safe on the way back home. The bank. I was like, wow, you guys do that? They're like, yeah, we do that because we don't want you to get jumped. I'm like, I agree. I remember I got here with the money, and I locked all the doors. I counted it again, and then, you know, the next day my parents came in and I gave it to them, and I was able to pay my sister's college. I went back for Christmas, and my gift to her was $2,000, right? For an 18-year-old, for a 19-year-old. I'm here, just don't be stupid with it, right? I'm not a person that's flashy. I don't know if some people might think different because you see my car. My car cost me $26,000. It was, some of you guys paid more. $26,000. I've seen people that don't make that in a year buy $30,000 cars. They're like, no, it's just payments for the next 150 months. My car, I'm not a flashy person. This is the same suit I got promoted to assistant manager with on July of 2018 or 2017. If you see the pictures on our Instagram, it's the same suit, just a pink shirt I had. I'm not this flashy person, but I do like to have money because it buys freedom and it buys just options, you know. And I'm not gonna tell my wife to not get something because I don't have money, or I don't want to tell her to ask for other people for pregnant lady clothes because we can't buy our own. Like, I just want to buy her 7,000 pants because the belly changes the size. I didn't know how quickly that goes, and I want her to have that, and that's just me. For you, it might be just you, you know. So get through the business. You know, our next goal this year is to get to national consultant, which is we have about 5 more of you guys promoted out. We have 3 really close if they want to. I know Alante's working on the willingness. Alante's doing great. Cassandra's an animal. Tracy's definitely showing a lot of signs of promotion. And you know, a few more people, it'll get us to national consultant, which will, for me, my next goal is I can go and buy a house for Monica and not have to worry about the mortgage and not have to worry about the stuff, and just buy a house where we want and how we want, not based on the price or based on the neighborhood, right? And I encourage you make enough money at least so you don't have to be living in a certain neighborhood because of your income. Like, you should work hard enough to make enough money in this country, that this country prints the money for the world, that you can have enough of it so you can do a little bit of what you want, you know, because you deserve to have it. You shouldn't be like worried about a flight because you want to go visit somebody and you don't have money to buy a flight. Oh no, it's just high season, or people that go on the beach in the winter because of the prices. No, you should go on the beach in the summer and pay the high price because you make enough money for that, and it's okay. And I know I got it through this business. It made me a better person. That's why I'm never leaving. I feel like I'm one of the most prepared. I'm gonna be a parent in June. I think I'm gonna be one of the most prepared first-time parents. I totally feel like a father. Yeah, thanks. Tommy told me one day, he's like, you're gonna be fine. I feel like I have to act like a parent a lot here, just with. I don't believe in raising children. I believe in raising adults that are just going through childhood. I think it's a better way to do it.
I can see you loud.
And yeah, you're gonna see my kid badged up here doing 5.
You're just in a phase right now.
And just encourage you guys. Just want to share a little of you guys about me, so you guys can get to know me. Hopefully, somebody can relate. You know, definitely went through some struggles. Some of you guys meet me now and you think I'm this like big boss or anything. I'm not. I'm Richard, man. I started at entry level. I can make you sweat. I can make you work. Some of you guys probably beat me in the field. Not many of you, but some of you guys could beat me in the field. And one thing I'll tell you is you'll have to run. That's for sure, because I'm gonna hit more doors than you, and I'm gonna hit more laps, and I'm gonna stay later. And by the time it's 8 o'clock, that's when my shift's gonna start. And that's just me. That's what I've done, and that's what I can do. But hopefully I can empower some of you guys that you're like, man, I'm just this normal guy. You can be this normal guy and do what I do, which is also a normal job. It just requires to be patient with people and be able to handle a lot of people growing and maturing at the same time. And I think it's beautiful. I see a lot of people grow. I see a lot of people change their lives with this thing. I see people really change their relationships. People change the way they raise their kids. And I think it's awesome. And just really encourage you guys to do that. But hopefully that works. Hopefully that helps some of you guys understand some of the stuff. We got to beat Houston today.
Of course.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Look at them back there. Look at them back there.
We do it all the time. We do it pretty often.
We do it pretty often. That's funny. That's funny. All right, so it's 12:24. Just be back.